Hello there, Master Hellish here, and welcome to a mini disaster. I came to my computer about lunchtime yesterday and it wouldn't respond. So I rebooted it, and then it rebooted itself, then it rebooted itself, then it rebooted itself for a while. Then it tried to load Windows and crashed. And then the story is pretty much the same over and over again from there. So my computer is now a carcass. I've stripped pretty much everything out. Most of the components of the computer are in that crate down there behind me. The graphics card, some of the drives, most of the RAM. And despite stripping pretty much everything off the motherboard, so it is just the motherboard, the CPU, one stick of RAM, not even with any drives, it still has the same problem. Swap the power supply, still has the same problem. Swap the RAM stick, still has the same problem. Either the processor's got an issue, which at this point I doubt, or there's something wrong with this motherboard. I cannot get it to boot into Windows. It restarts and restarts. Sometimes it doesn't even post. It's only on for like 1.5, 2 seconds max. And then it dies. It goes. But if it restarts enough, sometimes I can get it to start loading Windows, but that will always crash very quickly. And that's not just the install of Windows that I've got running on my computer. I even tried using a Windows 10 boot drive and then installing new Windows on a newly formatted SSD, and the newly formatted SSD has exactly the same problem as when I tried to boot my normal one. So I've changed so many variables, moved so many things around, and it's just still not working. I think it's a lost cause. So I think I need to either replace the motherboard or upgrade the motherboard. And this is where some of the dilemma comes in, because to replace this motherboard, somewhere between £100 and £200, next year I was actually going to buy a new one anyway. It was actually upgrade time next year for the motherboard, CPU and RAM. So I've ordered a new motherboard, new CPU and RAM, and because the motherboard has M.2 storage on it, which this one doesn't have, I've ordered storage drive for that and a cooler for the new CPU. Pretty much the bare minimum, CPU, motherboard, RAM, and a couple of other essentials, which essentially is a new computer. It's all the core components. I'll be adding all the peripherals. I'm still keeping the case, keeping the power supply, the hard drives and all that sort of thing. So in a couple of days or a day or two, I will be building myself a new computer, and hopefully I will be back up and running. From a hardware perspective, then I've got to start from scratch potentially. I don't know whether I'm pretty sure my existing OS, if I just plug it into a new computer, I will be fine. But I don't know. And at the moment, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to boot Ubuntu off a bootable USB somewhere over there to get my RAID drives up and running, because I have my main data drives in RAID. It's actually happened before that I've had a hard drive fail. It actually happened in a charity live stream. And when one of them fails, all you do is like pull out the bad drive, put a new drive in, and it'll rebuild itself and your data's safe. The problem I've got here is that these drives are set up in a certain way so that you access the data through the hardware of the motherboard. So if they're not plugged into the right ports on the motherboard, it doesn't work. If you just plug one of those drives into a different computer, it doesn't work. Now there may be some special way of accessing that data, or using special software or data specialists that could recover it, But at the moment, I'm just trying to get those two drives and the motherboard to at least boot something. so that I can access the data and maybe store it on my server through the network. I've got one gigabit network here, so transferring roughly 3 or 4 terabytes of data shouldn't be too bad, because then at least I can rebuild the new computer knowing that all my data is stored on the server at the moment. All my very, very key data I keep in the cloud anyway. So if I did lose those drives, it would be a massive pain, but it won't be the end of the world. So at the moment, I'm trying to stop a massive pain by trying to boot Ubuntu, but I did get into Ubuntu once. And once I'm in, it seemed stable. It's the booting process, which seems to be just completely had it. And I was up at about 5:30 this morning trying to do this. I spent most of yesterday afternoon and evening trying to get it sorted. This week I'm actually not at work. I was supposed to be trying to catch up on my to-do list, on Master Hellish videos. I was going to bring you more content. But instead of like catching up with my content list and bringing you some extra content, I'm probably going to have to take a break for a week or so. Maybe even 2 weeks. We'll see. Depends how badly everything goes with this. So at the moment, worst case scenario, I haven't got a computer for a few days, and then it's going to take me a day or two to get a new computer up and running. And this thing has been an absolute nightmare. But best case scenario, the computer arrives tomorrow and I am able to get my data. Oh, Ubuntu's booting. I've been rebooting this thing over and over again, so I might actually be able to get my data off these drives. The drive on the server, the backup drive on the server, is actually a parody sort of drive anyway, so if one of those drives fails, I've still got my data. I can actually hot swap a drive and we'll be off again. Redundancy, folks, it's important for exactly reasons like this. I have redundancy in my computer, I have redundancy in my server, and all my important stuff's on the cloud. Do make sure you do that, because even though I've been pulling my hair out now for around 24 hours, it could have been worse. And this has also been costly, because I'm now buying a computer that I was going to buy next year. But I've done it on a year's interest-free credit, so in theory, financially, I might be all right. Should be fine. No, it will be fine. Financially, it'll be fine. I wouldn't have bought the computer if it wasn't fine. It's a big expenditure that I wasn't expecting, but I've deferred the payment for a year. So hopefully it'll all be nice and smooth. I'll update you again, but that's going to be all for now. For those of you who are having a public holiday in the UK, I hope you have a nice extra day and you've all had a good weekend. I hope your IT days are going much better than mine, but I'm going to see if I can get the data off here, and I will probably see you tomorrow. Take care. Goodbye.